על אושר, אולי גם הוא יבוא, כשהוא יבוא ירד עלינו כמו גשם. בואי נתחבק ונלך, אל תשאלי אותי מתי, אל תשאלי אותי על בית, אל תבקשי ממני זמן, נחכה לו, עוצר לא נשאר.
ሌሊት ከጭቃ ላይ ራስ ማኛገር ፈረስ ቢጥልህ ራስ ማኛገር ወንድም ያትናደድ ራስ ማኛገር ማንም አላየህ ራስ ማኛገር ይልቁን ተጠንቀቅ ቀን እንዳይጥልህ ይልቁን ተጠንቀቅ ቀን
ስታመጣልኝ በየጊዜው ስታጫውተኝ ሳጫውትህ ስታዋየኝ ሳዋይህ ስንተቃቀፍ ቀን በቀን ጊዜውን በደስታ ስናሳልፍ ቀኑ ሲመሽ መቼ ነው አዲስ ቀን የሚጀምረው በመባባል ስንለያይ ከፍቶኝ ስንገናኝ በጣም ደስታ የሚሰማኝ አሁን ያ ሁሉ አለፈና ከዚህ ደረስ ከዚህ ደረስ ከዚህ ደረስ
בואי תני לי יד ונלך, אל תשאלי אותי לאן, תשאלי אותי על אושר, אולי גם הוא יבוא, כשהוא יבוא ירד עלינו כמו גשם. בואי נתחבק ונלך, אל תשאלי אותי מתי, אל תשאלי אותי על בית, אל תבקשי ממני זמן, נחכה לו, עוצר לא נשאר.
ጭቃ ላይ ራስ ማኛገር ፈረስ ቢጥልህ ራስ ማኛገር ወንድም ያትናደድ ራስ ማኛገር ማንም አላየህ ራስ ማኛገር
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם, אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, לא משנה, אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. ננסה מההתחלה, יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה, אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
לשמוע ג'אז בניו אורלינס,
לגור שנתיים בפריז,
ליום שלם להרגיש שלא חסר דבר,
לעשות מרתון סרטי על מודובר,
לקצץ את השיער ולצבוע לאדום,
להתאהב באמצע הרחוב פתאום, להוריד לבד בקבוק של ג'ק, לתת לראש להיזרק, לשכב איתה על חוף הים,
לא להרגיש רגשות אשם,
ללמוד לנגן לפחות שיר אחד בפסנתר,
להיות צודק ובכל זאת לוותר,
לצנוח ממטוס,
לברוח מהחוק,
להמציא איזה בושם עם ריח של תינוק, לבחור בשוב אחרי שנים, לרקוד אגדו בחתונה של הנינים, ולחיות בלי חרטות, או לפחות לנסות להיות מאושר עד כמה שאפשר, ולחיות את הזמן שנשאר לפני שהשעה נסגר. ללכת לאיבוד בעיר זרה,
להעביר איזה חודש או חודשיים על סירה,
לישון עם הבן באוהל במדבר,
ליום שלם להרגיש שלא חסר
לקרוא
דבר,
את טולסטוי, לעשות שבת,
לשנות את עצמי בבת אחת,
כי כבר הייתי בסדר כמו שציפו, אז רגע לפני שהחיים יחלפו, לחיות בלי חרטות, או לפחות לנסות להיות מאושר עד כמה שאפשר, ולחיות את הזמן שנשאר לפני שהשער נסגר. כשיגיע היום להזדכות, השומר יבקש שאומר
כמה מילים אחרונות לפני שהשער נסגר.
הייתי רוצה לסכם, היה כדאי בלב שלם, חייתי את חיי, אני חייתי את חיי
בלי חרטות, או לפחות
מה שאפשר ולחיות את הזמן שנשאר לפני שהשער נסגר ולשמוע ג'אז בניוחד לקום שנתיים בפריז לשכב איתה על חוף הים לא להרגיש רגשות אשם להפסיק לדאוג מכל דבר לחיות את הזמן שנשאר לפני שהשער נסגר
La 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 שתישאר צעיר לנצח la 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 שתישאר צעיר לנצח שישמור אותך אל ויגשים משאלתך שתעשה בשביל אחר והוא למענך שתיגע בכל כוכב ותטפס על כל שלב שתישאר צעיר לנצח שתגדל להיות צודק, שתדע לראות האור ולמצוא את האמת בתוך החושך הגדול שתמיד תהיה חזק, אל תשחק את המשחק שתישאר צעיר לנצח לה 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 שתישאר צעיר לנצח שיהיו ידיך עסוקות וצעדיך מהירים שיהיה ביתך יציב מול רוחות השינויים שבלבך תהיה שמחה שישירו את שירך שתישאר צעיר לנצח שישמור אותך אל ויגשים משאלתך שתעשה בשביל אחר והוא למענך שתיגע בכל כוכב ותטפס על כל שלב שתישאר צעיר לנצח לה 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 שתישאר צעיר לנצח לה 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 שתישאר צעיר לנצח
תודה על כל מה שבראת, תודה על מה שלי נתת, על האור העיניים, חבר או שניים, על מה שיש לי בעולם, על שיר קולח ולב סולח שבזכותם אני קיים. תודה על כל מה
צחוק של ילד ושמי התכלת על אדמה ובית חם. הנה לשבת אישה אוהבת שבזכותם אני קיים. תודה על כל מה שבראת, תודה על מה שלי נתת, על יום של אושר, תמימות ויושר, על יום עצוב שנעלם, שורות 2000 וכפיים שבזכותם אני קיים. תודה על כל מה שבראת, תודה על מה שלי נתת, על צחוק של ילד ושמי התכלת על אדמה ובית חם. הנה לשבת ואישה אוהבת שבזכותם אני קיים. תודה על כל מה שבראת, תודה על מה שלי נתת, על אור עיניים, חבר או שניים, על מה שיש לי בעולם, על שיר חולח, מלך סולח, שבזכותם אני קיים. קיבלתי עונש קצת מוגזם, שפטו אותי למוות, ישבתי על כיסא חשמל, נפרדתי מהפרייבט, ויכולתי לפחות להחליף את הכיסאות, כי אומרים בדרך כלל משנה מקום, משנה מזל. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר? אתם לא יודעים, אח שלי אסף בולים, לכן עבד בדואר, היה מחלק את המכתבים, קיבל אפילו תואר. יום אחד פקח הבחין שאסף גם מכתבים, והג'וב מיד פוטר, כי יש סוף לכל דבר. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר? אתם לא יודעים. היה לי דוד כזה בטלן שהתעצל לנוח, היה הולך לנמלה, חוזר בלי מצב רוח. לו היה פחות טיפש, אז ודאי ידע שיש גם תוספת לפתגם, ראה דרכי אבחך. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר? והם לא יודעים. לשחות כדי לצוף קבוע, למד שחייה בהתכתבות אצל מציל ידוע. כשנכנס סוף סוף לים, תוך שניות הוא נעלם. שניים קפצו אליו מיד, טובעים השניים מן האחד. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר? הם לא יודעים. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר? הם לא יודעים. אני שואל, אתם עונים, האם זה פייר?
קשה.
כבר יבשו עינינו מדמעות, ופינו כבר נותר אילם בלי קול. מה עוד נבקש אמור מה עוד, כמעט ביקשנו לנו את הכל. את הגשם תן רק בעיתו, ובאביב בזר לנו פרחים, ותן שיחזור שוב לביתו, יותר מזה אנחנו לא צריכים. כבר כאבנו 1000 צלקות, עמוק בפנים הסתרנו הנחה. כבר יבשו עינינו מלבכות, אמור שכבר למדנו במבחן. את הגשם תן רק בעיתו, ובאביב בזר לנו פרחים, ותן להיות שנית איתו, יותר מזה אנחנו לא צריכים. כבר כיסינו תל ועוד אחד, טמנו את ליבנו בין ברושים, עוד מעט תפרוץ ההנחה, קבל זאת כתפילה מאוד אישית. את הגשם תן רק בעיתו, ובאביב בזר לנו פרחים, ותן לנו לשוב ולראותו, יותר מזה אנחנו לא צריכים. את הגשם תן רק בעיתו, ובאביב בזר לנו פרחים, ותן לנו לשוב ולראותו, יותר מזה אנחנו לא צריכים.
אני נולדתי אל המנגינות ואל השירים של כל המדינות. נולדתי ללשון וגם למקום, למעט להמון, שיושיט יד לשלום. אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יופיע, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו. אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יופיע,
נולדתי לרצון ולאמונה שהנה הוא יבוא אחרי 30 שנה.
Good evening, everyone. Please take your seats. We are going to start the program in just a few minutes.
אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יופיע, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו. נולדתי לאומה ולשנים 2000 שמורה לאדמה ולחלקת שמיים ועירו הצופה. הנה הולך היום, עולה שעה יפה, זוהי שעת שלום. אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יופיע, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו. אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יגיע, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יבוא, אני נולדתי לשלום שרק יופיע, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו, אני רוצה להיות כבר בו.
ערב של שושנים נצאנה אל הבוסתן, כמו בסמים ולבונה לרגלך מפתן. לילה יורד לאט ורוח שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלט, זמר של אהבה. לילה יורד לאט ורוח שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלט, זמר של אהבה. חומה יונה ראשך מעלה כללי, איתל הבוקר שושנה הכתפנו לי. לילה יורד לאט ורוח שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלט, זמר של אהבה. לילה יורד לאט ורוח שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלט, זמר של אהבה. שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלד, זמר של אהבה. לילה יורד לאט, ורוח שושן נושבה, הווה אלחש לך שיר בלד, זמר של אהבה, זמר של אהבה, זמר של אהבה.
לחול, צריך טיול, תגידי מה את אומרת, טרמינל 3, תופסים בראש, מי צריך פה רכבת, כן אני רוצה, ואת רוצה, מטוס גבוה דרום אמריקה, אוי אמריקה, מתוקה, אוי כמה את יפה, הירח כאן ממול, תביני פה לא איסטנבול, כאן מותר הכל בלי גבול, כמה את עושה טוב הנשמה, איזו אהבה, לילה מחייך שאת איתי, כתוב לי על המצח שאני מאוהב בך בטירוף, ולא עשית לי שוב, מתוקה.
Please take your seats. I want you to meet award-winning journalist and TV personality, and lucky for WIZO, our MC for the evening, Jeanette Kaploon.
Hello, good evening. I'm the one who's lucky to be here with you in person. Finally, a big round of applause to all the volunteers who made tonight happen. This is sincerely amazing to see everybody face to face for WIZO. WIZO needs us more than ever, and I'm truly honored to be here with you tonight. Before we start, as usual, we're going to start with the national anthem and with the Tikva. So I would like for us to welcome warmly. Please take your seats before we sing the national anthem, and then we're going to rise. So please head to your table and please stand up so we can welcome Stephanie Atri and Deborah Kusner, who will sing the national anthem and the Tikva, and then it will be followed by the Birkat Hahalim by Shmuel Katz. Let's all rise, please. Okay. We shall start with the national anthem.
Can you see
Okay, now we will proceed with a Birkat Medina with Simon Palik and the Birkat Yahalim with Shmuel Katz. Everybody please stand up, and the prayer is on the side so everybody can follow.
אבינו שבשמיים, שהוא ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בפרט חסדך ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח כוכב ואמתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנה בצד טובה מלפניך. חזק ידידי מגני ארץ קדשנו, והנחילם אלוהינו ישועה ועטר ניצחון. תיאטרם, ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה. ואת אחינו כל בית ישראל, פקדנה בכל ארצות בזוריהם, ותוליכם מרק ומאוד לציון עריך ולירושלים משכן שמך. ככתוב בתורת משה עבדך, אם יהיה נדחך בקצה השמיים משם יקבצך אדוני אלוהיך, ומשם יקחך, והביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר ירשו אבותיך ויורשתיה, ויטבך וירבך מאבותיך. ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ולרע את שמך, ולשמור אל כל דברי תורתך, ושלח לנו מרע בן דוד משיח צדקך, ולפתות מחלקי קץ ישועתך, והופע בהדר גאון עוזך על כל יושבי תבל ארצך, ויאמר כל אשר נשמה באפו אדוני אלוהי ישראל, מלך ומלכותו בכל משלם אין סלע. אמן.
תפילה לשלום חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו, מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים, ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה, ביבשה, באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציר את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון. ויקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם, ונאמר אמן.
As you know, we have an amazing program tonight, and we have incredible speakers. So please take your seats and now enjoy. It's my honor to introduce now to our WIZO Florida chairperson, Goldi Richkiman. Louder, please.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 WIZO Gala. Being here tonight, sharing this celebratory evening with all of you is truly an honor, especially because it's been 2 years since our last annual gala. Tonight, we have some special guests I would like to mention. Gilad Erdan, Ambassador of Israel to the United Nations. Maor Elvas Starinsky, Consul General of Israel in Miami. Gabriel Groisman, Mayor of Bal Harbour. Anita Friedman, World WIZO Chairperson. Judith Groisman and Mirel Manocherian, WIZO USA Co-Presidents. Hannah Falik, WIZO USA Honorary Life President. Mercedes Ibcher, WIZO USA Founding President. Diana Simmons, WIZO Australia former President. And Selma Salzer, WIZO Panama President. I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you, as well as to the entire Gala committee, to our amazing co-chairs, Diani, Gabi, and Debbie, to all our volunteers, our vendors, and to our WIZO office staff, without whom this event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you. Our honoree tonight, Lilianta Basinic, is one of the greatest leaders, role models, and volunteers that our organization has ever had. We are all blessed by counting with her friendship, and I'm sure that we are very excited to share this important moment in her life. This evening, of course, is about raising money to fund the programs and services that WIZO offers in Israel. But it's also about bringing together like-minded people who strive for the betterment of Israeli society. Together, we can do it.
And just like she said, together we can do it. So please buy your raffle tickets, there's still time, and open your hearts and your wallets, because the children of WIZO in Israel really need us. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Anita Friedman, World WIZO Chairperson.
Wow, it's amazing being here in a presidential gala, finally, after 2 years. Good evening, my dear friends. It is a true delight for me to be here tonight to share this celebration with the devoted supporters of WIZO here in Florida, together with representatives of the leadership of WIZO USA. Above all, I am thrilled to have the opportunity to personally take part in honoring Lilian in the presence of her family, friends, and all of us who love and admire her so much. For me, being here feels very comfortable. Not only are the people and the place so familiar to me, but also I feel a strong bond with so many of you who came here from other countries and for whom WIZO gave us meaning, a way to give to our community and people, to make deep connections with others, and with a greater and larger cause, WIZO and the State of Israel. It is this profound sense of connection and purpose, the solidarity of so many WIZO women and the men who stand not behind them but beside them, that have kept the WIZO flame burning bright throughout these terrible past 2 years and have brought us here together to celebrate. When Itzik and I returned 9 years ago to Israel, it was this dedication to service instilled in me during 25 years here in Florida that guided me and led me to taking on the leadership of World WIZO 2 years ago. Thank you. These 2 years, I have to share with you, have been tumultuous and challenging for WIZO as they have been for all of you. and for the people all over the globe. Within weeks of taking office, the pandemic struck, and we were forced to confront an existential crisis nobody could have imagined, much less prepared for. During that first terrible year, amidst the chaos of repeated lockdowns and fear for our very lives, we were determined not only to preserve our great organization, but to come out of the crisis stronger and better than ever. We had to do this because this is what Israel needs and has come to expect from WIZO for over 100 years. Failure was never an option. I am proud to report to you that throughout the pandemic, we have not only continued to provide critically needed social welfare and educational services to tens of thousands of Israelis, but we have not stopped creating, innovating, and building. We are constantly moving forward. Here are just a few examples of WIZO's unique contribution to Israel during the past 2 years. The repeated lockdowns forced Israel's 2,000 public daycare centers, which we have 180 of them, to close for weeks and months each time. The only ones that continued to operate anywhere in Israel were the 7 WIZO daycare centers in Israeli hospitals, caring for the children of essential medical workers to ensure that these doctors, nurses, and other medical staff could be free to do their life-saving work. In the area of domestic violence, WIZO led the way in responding to the frightening increase of violence against women. We saw an 800% increase. It's just unimaginable. When the pandemic hit, we immediately recognized the urgent need for a shelter for women seeking refuge from a violent partner, but who could not be sent directly to a regular shelter for abused women because of the need for quarantine. In response to this need, we immediately established, together with the Welfare Ministry, an emergency shelter in one of our facilities, which operated for a year, providing life-saving refuge and professional care to over 500 women and children. Thank you, WIZO USA, for the support in this important project. Yeah, a big, because without you, we couldn't have done it. And last May, when the terrorists in Gaza began firing thousands of rockets with direct hits on several WIZO facilities, our supporters around the world responded by raising millions of shekels in emergency funds, enabling us to build new shelters in our youth villages and fortify our ability to deal with the next security crisis. We could never have overcome these multiple challenges and achieved the things we did without you. WIZO Florida and WIZO USA as a whole led the way in providing critically needed funding to help us weather the storm and to carry out important projects such as major renovations of a dormitory in WIZO Nachlat Yehuda, the rebuilding of the school in WIZO Nir HaEmek, the comprehensive transformation of our women's shelter in Ashdod, and the construction of a new state-of-the-art daycare center in Tel Aviv, and much, much more. I wish I had time to give you all the list, but it's very, very long. As always, we are sustained by our partnership with you, Israel, are for your devotion, your generosity, and your partnership. Which brings me back so naturally to the women we honor this evening. It is hard to imagine anyone who more perfectly embodies the values of love of Israel and the Jewish people, of a burning commitment to Tikkun Olam, of personal generosity, and leading by example, of years of devoted service to our movement and our people. On a personal note, Lillian, I love and admire you, and I am so grateful for our friendship. On behalf of all of us in WIZO in Israel and in our movement around the world, I salute you and look forward to many, many more years of you volunteering with us together. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good evening.
It really is remarkable to see the work that WIZO was able to provide safe haven for so many children. 15,000 children are in their childcare centers, and over 180, as Anita was mentioning, childcare centers were also helping first responders take care of people who were sick. So it's crucial. It is crucial to help more than, and now is the time. If not now, then when? And also, did you know that WIZO is the largest provider of social services in Israel outside of the government? Please pay attention to the screen.
Lilian is an example of a WIZO woman.
My mom is optimistic, passionate.
She's a happy person. She is very loving.
Lilian, to me, has been a mentor.
Loving and caring.
I think with my mom, what you see is what you get. She'll tell you what she really thinks, and that's how you get results. That's how you get tachlitz, you know?
We have netted more than 100,000.
She takes her job very serious. She laughs a lot, but you don't realize how serious she is behind all that.
She's brilliant. She's analytical, yet she's goofy. She's just a package that I've just not ever met in someone else.
Lilian is a role model, great friend.
I think just about how much love she has to give, not just to her kids, but to everybody.
There's a well-known Hasidic adage that joy breaks through all barriers. That's been Lilian's weapon throughout her entire life.
Born in Bogota, Lilian Rohr grew up watching her mother Charlotte help build Beit Avot, a Colombian home for the elderly. A dedicated WIZO woman, Charlotte attended WIZO events in Bogota and later in Miami, and along the way Lilian learned that helping the needy wasn't a chore, but a mission.
Maybe it's because she lost her parents in the Holocaust. She wanted to do something for older people. She personally went knocking on people's doors and asking for money for this. Whatever she puts her mind to, she would do. And that's something that was passed down to us.
What always was so remarkable to us growing up was watching the quiet tzedakah that she was doing, not only with her financial resources, but with her time.
Her father, Sammy, a successful developer and innovator, became the driving force behind some of the most significant Jewish organizations in Latin America. Establishing the Casa Lubavitch in Bogota, he paved the way for Chabad in Colombia. He would go on to quietly fund Jewish community centers across the globe. Lilian, her sister Evelyn, and brother George watched and learned.
My grandfather escaped Nazis during World War II, and I think one of his big things was rebuilding Jewish life. For my mother and her brother and her sister, growing up in the household they did, it's just part of who they are. Our calling today has been passed down to us.
Methodically laying the groundwork for a rebirth of Judaism, the family found itself at the vanguard of a movement that would spread across the former Soviet Union, Europe, Latin America, and the United States. Watching this, Lilian learned that you can spread love and kindness both in your own backyard and to the far corners of the world.
What was important to them was family and then the community that you live in locally and in the world at large. And of course in Israel, because even though we're here in Miami, Israel is our home.
Lilian's first memories of Israel were formed on a visit there in 1969. She experienced the land, met President Shazar, and even gave flowers to Golda Meir. Israel became like a second home. Her goal, to travel there every year.
Israel is a wonderful country, but for a country that started in 1948, it had a lot of challenges, especially with all the waves of immigration, and it's not something that I think any country could have so seamlessly integrated into their society. And I think what WIZO provided was the space for people to come in and say, hey, these are the problems, and please help us fix them.
With a degree in computer science, Lillian graduated from the University of Miami. During her college years, she met Moises, her partner in crime for the last 43 years. They returned to Barranquilla in 1979, and between running her computer store, teaching computer classes, and being a mom, Lillian still had time to attend WIZO events and fondly remembers the WIZO teas where she formed so many lifelong friendships. In 1990, due to growing dangers in Colombia, the Tabasinics moved to Paris. In the meantime, her sister Evelyn founded WIZO Unit with Hannah Fallick in Miami, and a common thread to WIZO became even stronger.
From all the organizations that I worked with, I thought, wow, WIZO would be great for her. She's like, yeah, but I don't know anybody there and I don't know anything about it. I said, you'll learn, you'll go through the ranks. And so she did.
When she started in WIZO, she had just come from France and she had just had her little boy Eli. And you know, for Jewish mothers to take care of kids in Israel is very important. I mean, nothing speaks to us like family, like children, like women.
And when Mercedes Ifcher invited Lillian to become part of WIZO Florida, she immediately joined the Wall of Life campaign. Lillian served on the fundraising committee and soon became WIZO Unit chairperson and joined the Florida board. Throughout the years, Lillian wore many hats at WIZO: chair of development, chairperson of WIZO Florida, and currently vice president of WIZO USA, serving on the National Finance Committee. Now a pillar of the organization she loves, Lillian became a mentor to future generations. Following the legacy of her beloved parents, Lillian's support, passion, and dedication to the Jewish people now follows in their profound footsteps.
She did an amazing job with WIZO. I really am very proud of her.
The sense of responsibility encompasses acting on Ahavat Israel, on a love for every Jew, no matter where they are, no matter who they are.
They spread themselves out, so they're supporting Israel and supporting the Jewish community in every corner that you can look at.
Lillian, as well as her family, find that WIZO's mission is absolutely fundamental to the development and success of our country.
She's an Eshed Chayil. She's the whole package.
Through WIZO, she's changed the lives of so many children. She makes dreams come true.
It's like an instinct with her. This organization calls to her in such a deep way that I have so much respect for. I don't think that there will be a day in her life where she's not with WIZO.
It's one thing to put in all the effort and all the planning into fundraising and thinking, we're doing all this and the money is gonna go to Israel. And then it's quite another when you go and you get to see the people that it impacts, the actual children, the actual women. It's not just lives that we're changing, it's lives that are being saved.
What an amazing and inspiring journey, story, and human being. Please stand up, Lillian. We are honoring you for making this world a better place. Thank you for everything that you do for WIZO, for children, for women, for families everywhere. And now I would like to welcome WIZO Gala chairpersons Diana Stragowicz, Debbie Aqua, and Gabby Copel, because Lilian inspires us, but she inspires her family above all.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming. When WIZO approached us to chair this dinner, they asked for guidance on how to best honor our mother, Lilian Tavasinik. Since we've been honoring our mother our entire lives, we thought this would be a piece of cake. It turns out, however, that WIZO was looking to do more than just bring her breakfast in bed. The thing is, if you really know our mom, you know she would rather you all make your generous donations while she has her breakfast in bed. You know that she is cringing that good money was spent on this beautiful gala in her honor, rather than going straight to the WIZO centers and programs. But you also know that in accepting this honor, she made a thorough calculation that being honored at this gala would end up raising more money for WIZO, and ultimately, that's what matters to her. So while she sits there, looking pretty and playing the part of the proud honoree, know that she not so secretly just wants you to give, and to give passionately. Let's prove to her that her calculations are correct tonight.
So now let's switch tracks a little bit. Eshet Chayil is a beautiful poem that husbands all around the world recite to their wives on Friday night. And in it, they describe all of the wonderful ways that a wife makes a home, that she makes a house out of the home. She provides food for the family. She makes sure the house is well stocked. She makes sure her husband is respected. She makes sure her children are clothed. And yet, all of these are things that create a house that flows, and they're all domestic tasks. And yet, in Eshet Chayil, you also see a mention of Kapa Pasha Leani Ve'adecha Shilcha Le'evyon. She stretches her palm to the poor and extends her hand to the needy. So the question is, why are we talking about tzedakah when we're talking about the home? What does one thing have to do with the other? And the answer is that tzedakah begins at home. And by putting the importance of tzedakah on the same pedestal as clothing and feeding your own family, a woman is showing her family just exactly how important this mitzvah is. Our mother, Lilian, has talked to us about the importance of tzedakah our entire lives. It's the thorough line of our life. It's the undercurrent of every conversation. And when she joined WIZO 21 years ago, she found a way to practice what she preached and showed us how it was done. She didn't just contribute, she got involved at every level and got her hands dirty.
Hi, everyone. I'm Debbie. I'm the third and favorite daughter of both of my parents. WIZO family, thank you for being the wind beneath our mother's wings. You really enabled her efforts to reach their full potential. To the Gala committee and the WIZO office, we see you. We see your hours of hard work, your attention to detail, and the love with which you meticulously orchestrated this event. We treasure your commitment. To all the guests who got out of your jammies and into your black tie attire, you look awesome. And we thank you for making the effort, and we really hope to make tonight worth your while. I remember in high school, I was working on an English paper into the midnight hours. I typed away quietly in the living room. I felt my eyes drooping as I struggled to finish. It was 2:30 a.m., and the lines began to blur into each other. I finally decided I had given it my all, and I quietly tiptoed off to bed. As I passed my parents' office, I heard the ominous question, "Who goes there?"
I peeked my head in to see my mom seated at her desk, bathed in the glory of halogen lights with a bright smile on her face. And I asked her, "What are you doing up?" And she asked the same of me. While over the years, my answers always varied. I was working on a paper, coming home from a party, nursing my newborn baby. Hers always remained the same. I'm working on WIZO stuff. 21 years of late nights working on WIZO stuff, and here we are today to honor that work, to honor you, and to raise some money. So without further ado, it is our great pleasure to introduce to you this evening's honoree, our mother, Lillian Tabasinik. Oof, wow. You know, I'm truly humbled by these beautiful and generous sentiments, and I can't thank you enough, everyone who took part in this video. And of course, my special thanks to Jerry Levine, who knows me for so many years, and he produced really the perfect video tribute. My heart is full, and I'm a little bit emotional tonight. And for those of you who know me well, and many of you know me well, it's not my usual state. You know, I don't really believe that I'm worthy of all this praise, especially for what I really enjoy doing. Having led WIZO Florida for 4 years, this evening I should probably be telling you all the things we achieved during my tenure and how WIZO has grown and what programs and projects were supported by WIZO Florida, and so on. But you could see all that in the journals you have on your table. But instead, I think you would be more interested in two things. Why do I dedicate so much time as a volunteer? And why particularly WIZO, when there really are so many other worthy causes? Don't get me wrong, I sit on other boards, volunteer elsewhere, but don't tell anyone, WIZO is my favorite. You see, I've always been a big proponent of being happy, as you saw in the video, right? And I will go to all lengths to be in that condition. Prime Minister Golda Meir, who, as you saw, I once gave flowers to on behalf of all the Jewish children in Colombia, once said, and I quote, "Trust yourself. Create the kind of self that you will be happy to live with all your life." So as I grew older, I figured it out. Superficial happiness can be here today, but because life happens, it can be gone tomorrow. So I found how life can provide me and with a sustaining meaning without the constant superficial and instant happiness as we usually think of it. What I learned was that the acceptance of responsibility and the hard work that comes with it is what brings me the greatest satisfaction. I realized that a concept that I grew up hearing all my life, tikkun olam, was the key. Accepting that responsibility, expressed through my volunteer work with WIZO and other organizations, have truly brought that happiness in my life. Well, I suppose I should say that my husband does add to that happiness in countless ways, as do my children, and thank God, my 13 grandchildren. And a quick shout out to all siblings, my siblings-in-law and their families as well. Needless to say, it's the family's unfailing constant support and encouragement. But we all know
that the one who actually makes all this possible is Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whom I thank every day for the overflowing blessings that he bestows upon me and my family. Some of us live our lives feeling entitled. We work hard, or our husbands do, to do well enough to live the lives we think are going to make us happy. We all know that volunteering and giving charity feels good. So we think we get to volunteer and give charity because we have extra time and money on our hands. But it's actually the other way around. Hashem's purpose in granting us these talents and this mazal is simply to enable us to fulfill the sacred obligation to care for our fellow Jews. This trait of selflessness, that knowledge to do what is right, justice, responsibility to prioritize the welfare of our brothers and sisters in Israel, is what all of you, by being here tonight, exemplify so brilliantly. And now, why WIZO? For the woman who left her home with her children in the middle of the night because of the ongoing domestic violence just became unbearable. The shelter that welcomes her will make her independent once again through career retraining, legal support, and therapy. Her children work with a trained psychologist and will soon thrive, thus breaking the cycle of violence. Why WIZO? For the boy whose father went to jail and whose mother works 3 jobs, and he is now a boarding school at the WIZO Nir HaEmek School and Youth Village. Therapy helps him process his pain and calm his anger, and he discovers that he has a knack for fixing cars when he attends the auto tech program. He's studying for his bagrut, and he will be recruited by the IDF as a mechanic. Why WIZO? For the single mom with 3 babies under 6, who's able to enroll in enrichment classes at her community women's center while her children are loved, cared for, and safe in a daycare center. She will become a computer programmer and will be able to work full-time to support her family. And finally, why WIZO? For the young girl whose home life breaks down when her brother, a paratrooper in the IDF, is killed. Vulnerable and innocent, she's groomed by an older man for prostitution, but luckily ends up at a WIZO community center where she joins the Otzmat Seira Young Empowerment Program with intensive mentoring, counseling, and support. The worthlessness she feels dissipates and her self-esteem is restored, and she then picks up the pieces of her life. I'm a logical and not particularly emotional person, so for me, yes, you all know this about me. It's all about the numbers, the concrete impact, and the future. And it's very clear to me. Investing in the social mobility in Israel that will enable it to thrive in the future is essential to helping the country remain strong and prosperous. So it will, in turn, be able to protect us, the Jews in the diaspora. Just a few weeks ago, World WIZO celebrated its meeting of representatives as it does every January. Anita Friedman was telling you about this. This is where they present their annual budget as well as the plans for the upcoming year. And there, she spoke about how they have begun implementing a far-reaching initiative, a new strategic plan, a blueprint for change. They are radically upgrading their technological capabilities and services. And I share this with you now to underscore how WIZO in its 102nd year is an ever-changing movement, evolving according to the needs of Israeli society. All of you, as I, grew up with the foundational concept of Kol Israel Arevim Ze Laze. All Jews are responsible for one another. This is one of the secrets of Jewish survival. In fact, it is the glue that guarantees our interconnection despite our differences. We are a people with a unique mission in the world, and a central part of that mission calls for mobilizing Jews in Israel and the diaspora to take a greater role in nurturing the less fortunate. WIZO embodies that mission since its founding in 1920. And here tonight, by me rallying you, our WIZO members and supporters, to be connected and committed to one another, identified and inspired, responsible with a larger purpose in our lives, we can together build the Jewish future, creating a sense of belonging and community, and continually strengthening the bonds of our magnificent extended family. Closer to home, in June of 2020, as we were all getting used to dealing with this pandemic, I passed the torch to my WIZO sister and dear friend, Goldie Rechkiman. I now say to you, Goldie, here is our WIZO family, friends, supporters, and an entire army of volunteers who will invest their confidence in you, grow with them, and create new pathways, and get WIZO and WIZO women to places we have never been before. I wish you the greatest success, and I look forward to continuing my active involvement with WIZO Florida as a board member and with WIZO USA on the exceptional things happen when you are blessed with exceptional people. So my gratitude goes out to all of those exceptional people who stood by me during my tenure, mentored me, and taught me to demand more of myself, and in turn helped me to inspire the WIZO leadership, staff, and supporters to do more and to give more. You know who you are, and I am most grateful. May we together all see another 100 years of continued success and achievement for WIZO, the Jewish people, and the state of Israel. Thank you, and enjoy the evening. And now I just need to make a quick housekeeping announcement. In honor of this very special occasion, as a surprise to me, being revealed as I'm reading this, obviously, a generous donation has been made to the WIZO Emergency Center at Nahlat Yehuda to sponsor the Lifestyle Lounge, also known as Yaya's Lounge. That's what my grandchildren called me, Yaya, by my 5 amazing kids, Diani, Mikey, Gabby, Debbie, and Ellie. Oh my God. Now, that's what I call a really nice surprise. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Please sit down. It's an honor to present the Joseph Handelman Light of Philanthropy Award to an caring, devoted, and amazing human being, Lilian Tabasinik.
It says, Women's International Zionist Organization honors Lilian Tabasinik with the Handelman Light of Philanthropy Award. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give.
את מתוקה, איי 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 כמה את יפה, הירח כאן ממול, תביני פה לא איסטנבול, כאן מותר הכל בלי גבול, כמה את עושה טוב בנשמה, איי 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 איזו אהבה, הלילה מחייך שאת איתי, כתוב לי על המצח שאני מאוהב בך בטירוף, ולא עשיתי שוב. בכל מקום, כל הזמן, יש לכולנו מגדול ועד קטן, ימים יפים וגם פחות, וביניהם תשובה לכל השאלות. יש אלוהים אחד גדול, ובעולם הזה נותן לנו הכל, בין אפלה לקרן אור, את הנתיב אנחנו רק צריכים לבחור, וזה ידוע, חיים הם מתנה, הכל צפוי והרשות נתונה. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאבד, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאבד, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם. העם הזה הוא משפחה, אחד ועוד אחד זה סוד ההצלחה. עם ישראל לא יוותר, תמיד על המפה אנחנו נשאר, וזה ידוע, חיים הם מתנה, הכל צפוי והרשות נתונה. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאבד, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאבד, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם. מי שמאמין לא מפחד, את האמונה לאבד, ולנו יש את מלך העולם, והוא שומר אותנו מכולם.
Hello. Please take your seats again. We need to continue with our program. I know we're all still amazed with Lillian's speech and that youth village that has been named Yaya. I will give you a few more seconds, but not minutes, to please take your seats. There will be time to mingle after all the speeches and the raffle. But we really want to be respectful, especially of the ambassador's time. Yeah.
Judith.
We have special speakers. We have special messages from Israel. So please take your seat. It seems I'm going to get a few helpers to help everybody go back to their seats so that we can continue with tonight's program. We still have a lot of the gala to cover and special messages from children in Israel that we all want to hear. Especially because WIZO not only takes care of young children or women who are vulnerable, who are surviving domestic violence. WIZO also provides shelter to young adults in its youth villages. But above all, above the education, above the safe haven that it provides, it gives back hope. Children who are vulnerable and who have seen things that sometimes we cannot imagine can lose hope in the future. And WIZO is instrumental with a psychologist, a therapist, the feeling of safety and the hope for a brighter future, and also providing a safe haven for the women and the mothers who continue celebrating WIZO, celebrating that we are together in person and that we are able to continue helping thousands of children, of teenagers, of women get back on their feet, have a brighter future, and also help this a better world. Instrumental to all of what WIZO does is my next guest of honor, Judith Groisman. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to WIZO USA President Judith Groisman, who we all know and love. Please, louder.
It's such an amazing view from here to see you all once again getting together to celebrate our dear Lilian Tabasinik, not only because of her extraordinary tenure as WIZO Florida chairperson, but as the incredible human being that she is. And the proof is in the pudding, Lilian. Because today we have Anita Friedman, our World WIZO chairperson, who flew from Israel just to be here. We have my co-president, Mireille Manocherian, who came down from New York, together with part of her executive also to be present at this beautiful event. You know, the theme of this gala is the impact that WIZO has on the lives of thousands of children, youth, and women in Israel. But the best measure to understand the depth and the scope of what WIZO does is to hear directly from those who benefit from the hundreds of programs and projects that WIZO operates in Israel. And that is because of you. You are the ones that make it happen. You and your relentless generosity and support. You and all the volunteers that work so hard to make sure that we achieve WIZO's mission in Israel. The best way to understand is just to listen to these two young men whose lives were so positively impacted by the work we all do together. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mel, I am 27 years old and I work as a policeman in Yassam, which is a special reaction team for any unusual event that happens in Israel. I'm a graduate of the WIZO Police Cadet program in Nir Emek Afula. And I want to tell you that when I first came to WIZO and I entered the office of my guy Ze'ev, I stood at his desk in attention. His first words to me were, "Relax, I'm here for you." I can tell you that WIZO gave me every tool I needed to succeed in life. We had a tutor that would sit with us and study with us for exams. We had a gym and a pool and a social worker that would wrap us around 24/7. And the best thing that happened to me is that Ze'ev, who was my guide, he was a role model for me. WIZO is actively changing society by showing kids a better side of life. I can tell you that from my line of work, I often see people that I believe if someone introduced WIZO to their lives, it would be completely different. I also want to say that they say that a pen is the best weapon, but I think that the best tool is a teacher that would inspire you to make a change in your life while thinking about the people that are around you. I want to say a great thank you to everyone in WIZO for changing my life.
Hi, my name is Michael Gold. I'm 23 years old and I was born in Georgia. I had an abusive father. He used to beat me, my sister, and my mom on a daily basis, sometimes so badly we almost died. In 2005, when I was 7 years old, my mom, with the help of a friend, took me and my sister and moved to a WIZO shelter for abused women and children. I was in that shelter for almost a year. In that year, the WIZO staff helped my mom learn Hebrew and help her and us get somewhat of a normal life. The staff also helped us with all the legal issues that came along with leaving the house that we were in and divorcing my father. I can honestly say that without WIZO, we probably would have ended up dead. I would like to say thank you to WIZO for helping me and my family. And I would like you to know that your donations do really help people such as myself. Thank you.
After you hear those stories, not only does it touch your heart, but it reinforces why we need to continue helping WIZO help them. There's so many children, so many women who still need us. And somebody who has really understood, believed how WIZO provides a safe path for women's empowerment, for the betterment of the lives of children, is WIZO Honorary Life President and Honorary Gala Chairperson, Gala. My honor to introduce you. Thank you for everything that you do.
First of all, this is before the speech. The second boy that spoke, that he said WIZO saved his life, he's our guard in Israel. So I know him well.
And I know this is a true story, and it really breaks my heart when I realize that somebody so close to us could have been on the verge of being killed by his own father. So it's very important to me that you saw this testimony. So, dear friend, Ambassador Gilad Erdan, they told me I can't start saying hello to everybody, but you, I'm going to say hello and thank you for being here. I'm so happy. I was very excited, and you said yes from the beginning. Like Simon says, we just had to find the date, and I'm thrilled. They are in for an amazing speech. Thank you so much. And people, this is a secret, okay? Everybody, come closer. I think he will be Prime Minister one day. I want to welcome everybody. I can't start saying all the titles, but I'll say Judy Groisman, President, Mireille Manocherian, President, Goldie Reichman, President of Florida, and everybody. This is my table, so my mom, my mother-in-law, my husband, my Rabbi Lipskar, and the person that introduced me to Simon, which is Salo Grossfeld. This is this table, so please. The next table is just my brother and my grandchildren and my nieces and my nephews. Anyhow, this is WIZO. WIZO is a family. I'm going to start. I thought if they talk about WIZO, I'll talk about Parashat Shavua. If they talk about Parashat Shavua, I'll talk about WIZO. So I'm not going to talk about WIZO. I'm going to talk about Parashat Shavua. And it's incredible because my Rebbetzin, who is Hani Lipskar, everybody knows, she told me, whenever you're going to speak in any place, look at the parasha and it's going to be perfect for whatever you need to talk about. So I said, that's ridiculous. Guess what? It's perfect. The parasha last week and this week, Truma ve Tetzaveh. Now, they're talking about the Mishkan. And they're talking about Jews giving donations. Do you know what I'm doing now? Asking for donations. So it goes perfect. So we have to give donations. Now, the Jews, it's interesting. I think it's amazing. When the men were asking the women for their jewelry to do the Egel HaZahav, the lamb, they didn't want to give it. Their husbands had to pull from their ears the earrings, and they wouldn't give it. But when it was for the Mishkan, it was the women that gave first. Did you know that? Like in WIZO, we give first. We force you to give money, right? We learn from the Torah. They give so much that Moshe had to say, please stop, we have enough. Have you ever heard Jews saying we have enough? They had enough. It's important to give a home for God. It's important to create a home for our brothers and sisters. These 3 years, I'm going to say 2 years, but it's going into the 3rd year, were probably the most crazy years that we ever lived. I'm only 24, but I heard from my parents that they never saw something like this. If you would have seen a picture of people walking with masks around everywhere, you would say, ugh, and it's terrible. And it's this, now everybody wearing masks, and we're in Florida. Florida was the best place to be in the world in COVID. Did you know that? The best. People came from New York, and they came from Europe, and they came from South America. They came from all over. There is no place like Florida, right? And we had a hard time. We really did have a hard time. Today, when I look at my beautiful friends from WIZO, dressed in the long gowns and makeup and jewelry, I'm in shock. I forgot how cute they were. Lately, I just see them in overalls and on jogging suits and no makeup, and here they are, beautiful again. Baruch Hashem. But as good or as bad as it was here, in Israel was worse. And instead of coming and telling you everything about the centers that you heard from Anita that spoke so wonderfully, I'm going to say, let's be honest. Let's think on something that it's easy for us to imagine. So, number one, all of us, we go with WIZO once a year on a mission. We didn't. 2 years. All of us, we go once a year or 3 times a year. Us in my family, 6 or 7 times a year. We didn't. And imagine now, this is from us. Our hearts are broken. It's like they took a part of us. Our hearts are bleeding because we can't go to Israel. And even if we want to go to Israel, our children cannot go to Israel. Our grandchildren cannot go to Israel. And it's become like a desperate situation. Now imagine the opposite. The people that are waiting for us. The hotels, the restaurants, the museums, and with that, everything else. I mean, the taxis and the people that do the laundry and, you know, the people that do the baking, the cooking, everything is stalled. People had a horrendous time. This is just one industry. This is tourism. And it's been pretty, like they say in French, pretty bacact. It's been terrible, awful, difficult, and we're all waiting to go back. Please, Ambassador, let us in. Let my people in. Only one? No, not one day. They don't let the kids in. Whatever. I heard there is a country, I'm not going to say the name, that wanted to sue Israel because they are supposed to let all Jews in and they weren't letting Jews in. I almost moved there because I agree with them. Anyhow, we need to ask for money. And you have a little envelope like this one, right? And this has been given and done with so much love. But I have another secret to tell you. Please come closer. Come closer. Lilian and Moises are doubling every cent you donate. And we are trying to reach the $1 million that they're willing to double. So today, whatever you were going to give more. And then it's doubled. Imagine, it's a metzie. It's a complete metzie. Whatever you give today is better than ever. Now, I heard something very nice yesterday. They said, somebody was saying, money doesn't make you happy. It doesn't give you happiness. But believe it or not, when you give the money away and you help other people, it does give you happiness. It makes you feel really good about yourself. Because, you know, you go, you buy a beautiful dress, it gets burned by that little light in the corner, the dress is gone. You buy a new car, your kids threw the Coca-Cola in the back seat, it's over. But when you give, it keeps feeling nice. You go, wow, I'm such a nice person. You feel good about yourself. And this is the opportunity to feel good about yourself. I'm going to ask my grandchildren, Joseph and Yona, to go around the tables and collect money. I'm going to ask Kay, to give me the donations that we've been collecting also. She made me all kinds of little notes around next to it so I can tell good jokes. And we're going to start with Judy and Horacio Groisman, our president, who is giving today $10,000. Ethan Friedman, 7 years old, $50. No small donation. This is a big, big donation. Valerie Friedman, $200. Ahorita and David Schloss, my table, in honor of Hannah, Lillian, the Great women of WIZO, with love, $5,000. Marcel and Claudia Calef, $1,800. Isaac Lekach, my nephew, in memory of Hugo Kalensuk, who was a member of WIZO, his wife Tita, and him forever, $180. My favorite little brother, Salo Lekach, and his wife Vicky and his family, $50,000. Jeanette Girard, $1,000. The Falik family, $120,000. Michelle Saka, $1,000. Aliza and Selma Seltzer. Selma is the president of Panama, and she came to copy this event in Panama. So let's show off. Thank you, Selma, $3,600. Thank you, Aliza. Stephanie and Salo Ashkenazi, $500. $1,800, Tammy Stern. I have a whole story about Joey and Beverly Koplowitz, but I'll tell you only the first donation that we ever got that was for us a huge donation was when their son Danny was born. And they they gave us $1,800. Today they gave $18,000. Thank you, Beverly and Joey. Golda Rechkiman, our president, $18,000. Don't forget, everything is double. Gideon and Ruthie Korngluth, $1,000. Brenda Abuaf, $360. Linda Mako Zuckerman, $500. Judith and Rafaela Dut, $180. Ruthie and Max Benoliel and family, $10,000. This is a big donation because it's Benji Saragowicz, which is in honor of my yaya. And ma? And ma? Grandma. And grandma. $1,800. He's a little boy. That one you should triple. Okay, listen, Salo. I'll tell you later. He wants to know anonymous who. Oops. David Milstein, a good friend, $360. Thank you, David. $2,300. Jerry and Jerry Levine. I introduced them. I was the shadchan. Idel and Yvette Waldenberg, $5,000. In memory, no, I'm sorry, Lehavdil. Okay, $3,000 in honor of Lilian Tabasinik, our president. Dina Benari from FIDF, $360 in honor of Lilian Tabasinik. Alex and David Benoliel. David is my godson. $3,600. Liliana Benzaken, 36. Our president, world president, Anita Friedman, and her husband, Itzik Friedman, $100,000. Janet Luzgarden, in honor of Lilian, $1,800. William Luzgarden, in honor of Lilian. In memory of William and Susie Luzgarden, $1,000. That's my son's girlfriend, Brooke Alpart, $100. Thank you. Brooke Alpert. I'm sorry, 180. Life. I love you here. Wendy and Carlos Berner, 180. Suzanne Birbracher, 108. Ifsher family, $100,000. Barbara Mauricio Vitran, 5,000. Renee and Gary Bonser, 50. Diana and Jacob Bramy, 101. Yvette and Joseph Waldenberg. WIZO Vice President she's the Vice Chairman of Lillian, $10,000. Deborah and Salomon Betej, 400. Avi Cohen, 100. Sherry and Neil Cohen, $26,000. Cantor Uri and Judy Aqua, in honor of Lillian Tabasinic, $1,800. Patricia Cohen, in honor of Lillian Tabasinic, $5,000. Thank you, Patricia. We missed you. Anonymous? My Rabbi and my Rebbetzin, Shalom and Hani Lipskar, in honor of Lillian Tabasinic and Hannah, $1,000. Rabbanit, Rebbetzin. Adrian Cooper Wolf, 180. Jeanette and Max Deckelbaum, 1,000. Desert Salomon family, $10,000. That's an import from New York. Rabbi Roberto and Margie Scherer. These are people that came from WIZO, Florida, moved to New York, and we want them back. $18,000. Thank you, Margie and Roberto. In honor of Lilian Tabasinic. Nehama Sasson, in memory of Victor Haim Bermargot, Zichrono Lebracha, $180. Nora George Joffe, in honor of Lilian Tabasinic, $1,800. Do you know how much we're making? Judy and Gabriel Dixon, $360. Bela Miguel Edelstein, $360. Edward Gerbart, $18,000. Dina and David Rubin, $2,000. Georgette Galbart, $1,000. Eliana Moises Gilinski, $180. Anne and Jerry Kontovnik, $10,000. All the rest are kind of anonymous. Okay. Annette Rubinstein, $2,000. Rose Schreiber, $1,000. Jane Shapiro, $1,000. Rosa Shashua, $720. Doreen Joseph Schwartz. Dori, that's a young girl, $360. Ethel Siroktin, $360. Leah Sobel, $180. Tracy and David Spitz, $252. Raquel and John Saragovich, $360. Arlene and Daniel Stein, $10,000. Lisa Groisman, anonymous. Oops. Gabe Groisman, $1,800. My good friend Tali and David Damagi and Daniel Damagi. Hannah Falik, we love you. I love you more. And Simon. They really don't. They love me. $10,000. Thank you, Tali. Joyce Strauss, $2,000. Elena Mike Safransky, $780. Miriam and Joseta Basinic, 7,500. Carol and Steven Title, 18. Stephanie and Jules Trump, 18,000. Alma Wenthrop, in honor of Sarah and Rosita, 500. Susan and Aaron Weinberg, 500. Roderick and Joel Wisniak, 1,000. June Waldenberg, 1,000. Tammy and George Waldenberg, 5,000. Hannah and Pesach Wortater, 720. Listen, Lilian. Ariela Zaragovich. From WIZO Ruach Hebrew Academy, $108. Marshall Stauber, $1,800 of strong Jewish mothers. Ruth and Alan Seltzer, 180. Regina Miguel Singer, 500. Sarita Neyal Zohar, 1,000. Ellen Deller, $18,000 from Israel. Uri and Judy Aqua, 1,500. Dr. Ann Ballen, 360. Hannah Moshe Baruch, 100. Toby Becker, 100. Annie James Benarosh, 250. Baby and Jaime Benarosh, 250. Did I say already? Yeah. I don't know already. Go confused for a second. I think here. David Damagi. 2,600, David Damagi, but he increased it. Jean Kim and Mark Lehman, 1,800. Anita and Bernie Murciano, 1,000. Susie and Isaac Mendal, 1,000. Diani and Simon Mondlak, 360. Amy and Nir Shoshani, 1,800. Samuel Falik, my favorite son, 180. Lillian, please stand up. Please come closer. Guys, everybody pay attention because this is really important. I'm remembering today your mother, who was, when we honored her, she came and she said, I know they give you little donations, but I want to give you a big donation. And she did. She was a lady. She was amazing. We loved her, and we still love her. I'm remembering your father. He taught me that anonymous donations are great when you're giving it to neighbors and people that need food. But when you are in a charity like this one, to announce a donation is an incentive of others, for others to give it. Your father taught me that. And your father gave me Atlas Shrugged. That was a book that taught me how to live, and I'll never forget him for that. And it's my favorite book. I have something that Lillian told me. I did the Saints of the Roars. Lillian told me one time, I'm going to give you an advice. And today you said it. And I said, what advice can Lillian give me? And she told me, don't forget to thank God. So I do. I thank God every day. And believe it or not, you were a big influence to recognize how lucky we are with what we have. But there is something else Lillian told me. Lillian told me, I met you in University of Miami. We were in school together. But she says that she never looked at me because I was next to a tall guy with very pretty eyes and curly hair. Lilian saw Simon before she saw me. Evelyn did start WIZO, and she was one of the founders. And one day she said to me, I have to leave WIZO because I'm going to go and establish a shul in Val Harbor. Is doing what your father and your mother taught them to do. Today, they are donating $500,000 to WIZO. For the emergency center that is so needed and it's your dream. Everybody please look at the board. I know that you don't kiss in Corona, but go give your family, give Evelyn and Shmuel and your husband and your family, give them big kisses because this is the most beautiful gift they could ever have given you. And don't forget, everything gets doubled.
Wow, what an exciting night.
Small detail. I said Evelyn and I said Shmuel because I know them better. But of course, George Rohr and Pamela Rohr are the partners in this beautiful donation. Thank you so much. And send them a big kiss from us. Good luck with the new grandchild.
It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker, Gilad Erdan. His Excellency Gilad Erdan is Israel Ambassador to the United Nations. Until recently, Ambassador Erdan served as Israel's ambassador to the United States, the first person to hold both roles concurrently since Abba Eban in the 1950s. Prior to serving as Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Erdan served in the Israeli Knesset for 17 years and held several ministerial positions, including Minister of Public Security, Minister of Strategic Affairs, and Minister of Environmental Protection. He was a member of Israel's Security Cabinet and led many important reforms in Israeli society. With that, I ask that you give your full attention to Ambassador Gilad Erdan and help me in welcoming him to the stage. His Excellency Gilad Erdan.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Goldie, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. Friends, a number of years ago, when I served as Minister of Public Security, I had the opportunity to visit a WIZO youth village in Nir HaEmek. You had the opportunity to watch one of the alumni here tonight. This beautiful initiative gives at-risk youth a chance to transform their lives. From youth with nothing to lose, they become exemplary members of society and strong leaders. When I saw the shining eyes of the teenagers and how eager they were to turn their lives around, I was deeply moved, as I am each time I encounter WIZO's wonderful work. Yeah, you deserve it. So, where is Hannah? I cannot compete with your jokes. So, when my dear friend Hannah Falik invited me to speak at this event, I knew that I had to be here with you tonight. WIZO is profoundly impacting the lives of hundreds of thousands of Israelis every single day. And that wouldn't be possible without all of your tireless effort and contributions. The Jewish people are one big family, and family means that no one gets left behind. Your dedication to the most vulnerable members of our family not only strengthens Israel, but also strengthens the Jewish people as a whole. And for that, I could not be more grateful. Hannah, I want to thank you for your kind words. You too are a great friend, and I'm truly honored that you invited me here tonight. You, as everyone here knows, have an infectious passion and energy, and Israel is blessed to have such a close ally in you. And of course, the work that you and Simon, and also I had the honor to meet Neely here as well, you do for the Jewish people and the Jewish state is truly, truly inspiring. Anita, where is Anita? Anita, thank you for leading this incredible organization. It is no simple feat to lead an organization with hundreds of thousands of volunteers spread across 5 different continents, but the WIZO's accomplishments speak for themselves. Judith Groisman and Mireille Manocherian, WIZO's USA, is lucky to have you as its leaders. Thank you. The compassion and selflessness that guide you inspire all those around you, and your dedication to Israel is unmatched. Thank you for everything that you do. They say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that couldn't be more true for the Groisman family. So Gabe, are you here? Yeah. Gabe, although you may not hold a WIZO leadership role, but I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your incredible work. You are a born leader, a role model, and a true friend. I deeply thank you for relentlessly defending Israel. Thank you. Consul General Elbaz Starinsky, the great work that you have done in such a short period of time is truly admirable. Thank you. Last but not least, I would like, of course, to congratulate tonight's honoree, Lilian Tabasinik. Lilian, your dedication, your generosity, your lifelong work for WIZO is immensely inspiring. WIZO strives to create a strong Israeli society by empowering women and children while ensuring a bright future for all. This is a mission that I too share. As Minister of Public Security, I fought to enhance the protection and safety of children online by establishing the 105 National Call Center, a 24-hour emergency hotline. I also worked closely with law enforcement to prevent sexual violence while providing victims with the support and care that they need. And the very first event that I hosted at the UN as ambassador focused on incorporating cutting-edge Israeli technology in the fight against domestic violence. So by strengthening Israeli society, we build a strong Israel. We are enhancing our resilience against those, as you know, that seek to delegitimize the Jewish state. But now, more than ever, this resilience is being tested. Friends, we are living in trying times. As the world has entered its third year of battling the pandemic, another pandemic has spread. This is not a pandemic that can be fought with social distancing or vaccinations. This pandemic has spread as a result of hatred and lies. And similar to COVID-19, the cost of this pandemic of hate is often the tragic loss of life. It was felt only a few weeks ago in Texas. It can be felt almost daily on the streets of New York or London. And its spread can even be felt here in Florida, where neo-Nazis proudly waved swastika, flags, and chanted hateful incitement undeterred. The violent surge in anti-Semitism, history's oldest form of hatred, has been accompanied by a surge of a new form of anti-Semitism. While a millennia ago, Jews were hated for their religion, and a century ago, we were hated for our race, today we are hated for Israel. This animosity is so strong that it defies all fact and logic. Just 1 week ago, a report was released by Amnesty International, a so-called human rights organization, slandering Israel with the most outrageous and far-fetched fabrications. While claiming to stand against oppression, this organization fails to condemn the world's worst human rights violators and instead focuses its time and resources on singling out only Israel. Israel, as you all know, is a vibrant democracy that promotes freedom, coexistence, and equal rights for all. Nevertheless, this report shamelessly attacks Israel's existence from the very moments of its founding. It denies that the Jewish people have even the right to a homeland, showing how anti-Semitic and detached from reality it truly is. And this anti-Israel bias is also especially clear at the UN. You do not have to be an expert in international relations or geopolitics to see the discrimination that Israel endures in its halls. Each month, the UN Security Council dedicates a full debate to the Middle East. But rather than focusing on the true threats to the region, such as Iran's nuclear program, that endangers, of course, the entire world, it focuses almost entirely on denouncing Israel. Listen to this. The UN Human Rights Council, since its establishment, has used, or should I say, abused, 1/3 of all of its inquiries to target and attack Israel. It has blamed and condemned Israel 95 times. 95 times. More than all the times it condemned Iran, Syria, and North Korea combined. Last May, the Human Rights Council decided to establish a commission of inquiry to investigate Operation Guardian of the Walls. Rather than focusing on the 4,300 rocket attacks that Hamas, a murderous terror organization, carried out against Israeli civilians, it focused on condemning the law-abiding democracy of Israel. What a disgrace. When I was asked to respond to the Human Rights Council's annual report last year, I decided to follow in the footsteps of Israel's legendary ambassador, Chaim Herzog. And you remember what he did. When Ambassador Herzog was asked to respond to the UN's resolution declaring Zionism as racism, he stood on the podium and tore the resolution up for all the world to see. And that is exactly what I did. I too stood up on the podium and tore the Human Rights Council's annual report to pieces. Because I will never give a hand to such one-sided bias. This shameless double standard and hypocrisy is something that I face every single day. But I am not deterred. I promised to never be. You know, when I was first sworn into the Knesset as an elected official, I invited my grandmother, Savta Rachel, to my swearing-in ceremony in Jerusalem at the Knesset. As she watched me take my place in the democratic parliament of the State of Israel, tears were streaming from her eyes. She told me that while she lay on the cold wooden barracks of Auschwitz, surrounded by suffering, death, and an unspeakable evil, she could never have imagined that one day she would have a grandson that would serve in the parliament of the Jewish state, let alone serve as a minister. So I turned to Savta Rachel and I said, Savta, you came to this land literally rebuilding your life from the ashes and helped establish the homeland of our people. If you and your generation could build a state despite the horrors that you endured, it is our duty to protect it. It is my turn to defend the state of Israel and the Jewish people. And it is our duty to do the same. All four of my grandparents survived the horrors of the Holocaust. Their stories of courage and survival taught me to never give up. I never have and never will let our people or our state get bullied. Not by any individual, not by any state, and for sure not by any international body. And so I developed a strategy to fight this anti-Israel bias at the UN. My strategy consists of three main tactics: strengthening Israel's bilateral relations, going on the offensive, and showcasing the Jewish state's incredible global contributions, especially in tackling the world's most pressing challenges. The UN is composed, it's important to learn a little bit about the UN. The UN is composed of various religious and regional voting blocs. Sometimes, countries are almost always more committed to their bloc members than they are to any other country. Even if a country has strong bilateral ties with Israel, they still might vote against us because, as I said, their bloc decided that it was the right thing to do and they are committed to their voting bloc. And this is exactly where the power of shared values and similar interests play a critical role. After careful research and analysis, Israel pinpoints the countries that have the most potential to benefit from cooperating with us, with Israel. I then make immense efforts to strengthen our diplomatic ties with these countries in order to convince them to break away from their regional or religious blocs. And countries, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, such as Guatemala, the Czech Republic, and Hungary, and few others, have already demonstrated their solidarity with Israel, that their solidarity with Israel is more important for them than their allegiance to their voting bloc. Yeah. So this is a process, of course, that takes time. Making sure that anti-Israel resolutions are no longer passed at the UN will not happen overnight, but we are seeing clear results already. Fewer and fewer countries show automatic support for the one-sided resolutions against Israel. While these resolutions still pass by majority, the scale is shifting. But beyond resolutions, more and more countries are now willing to stand up to the biased propaganda spread against Israel at the UN. Last year, as a result of strong bilateral relations, as I described, a true impact was made at one of the UN's darkest and most hateful events. The infamous Durban Conference, I hope you heard about the Durban Conference, the conference that was supposed to serve as a platform to combat racism, yet it was hijacked by extremists and turned into a hate fest of anti-Semitism. At last year's UN event commemorating this shameful conference, 38 countries decided to boycott not Israel, but to boycott the event, more than double the number that did so in the past. So as you can see, strong bilateral relations can go a long way. But sometimes speaking softly and strengthening the bilateral relations is not the most effective tool. Sometimes, as I used to say, and I've always been a strong believer that defending ourselves is important, but sometimes the best defense, as you know, is a good offense. So we must always be proud of our accomplishment and strive to expose hypocrisy. As Minister of Strategic Affairs, that is exactly what I did. I exposed the ties that BDS organizations have to terror groups, as well as the deep-seated anti-Semitic views of their main supporters. So by going on the offensive and exposing these links, I was able to cripple much of their influence and funding. And as you know, despite all of BDS's efforts, Israel, thank God, has a thriving economy, growing relations, and makes a strong global impact. This same tactic of exposing hypocrisy and taking proactive steps is one that I implement today in the halls of the UN as well. The most appropriate display of this tactic occurred just last month. Holocaust denial, as you know, has spread across the world like a cancer. Even while Holocaust survivors are still among us, the darkest stain in human history is becoming a distant memory. Due to the endless reach of social media, these dangerous fabrications diffuse across the globe in the blink of an eye. I knew that we couldn't sit idly by and only watch. Action had to be taken, and a proactive approach was the only solution to fight Holocaust denial. Combating this dangerous phenomenon became a top priority for me. So 2 weeks ago, we succeeded to pass a historic resolution combating Holocaust denial in the UN General Assembly. For only the second time in history, an Israeli-led resolution was adopted by the General Assembly. Yeah. And for the first time, this resolution gives us practical tools to combat and eradicate this sick phenomenon. It also calls on the UN and member states to enhance and implement Holocaust education, but most importantly, from now on, social media companies will finally be held accountable for the hateful lies and incitement spread on their platforms. So friends, this is how we go on the offensive, and this is how we make a difference. But you probably remember how I mentioned that I use 3 tactics to find the bias against Israel at the UN. Well, what cannot be accomplished through bilateral diplomacy or by going on the offensive can often be accomplished by showcasing Israel's incredible contributions to the world. We live in an era where global priorities are shifting. Our planet is suffering from climate change. Large populations are facing food insecurity, water scarcity. Water scarcity poses a threat, of course, to countries all around the world. So these global challenges are the most critical issues that humanity faces, and solving them is a top priority for all of us. And this is exactly where Israel can and does play a central role. Israel may be a country with very few natural resources, but our greatest resource is our human resource. Israeli creativity and innovation are paving the path to a better future for all of us. Israel, the startup nation, is providing solutions to the world's most pressing challenges, but it doesn't end only with innovation. The Jewish state truly takes the idea of tikkun olam to heart, and Israel has a very, very big heart. I don't have to explain this to anyone sitting in this room. You all saw it with your own eyes in Surfside only 8 months ago. As soon as I heard the awful news, I came to stand with you and with our soldiers that immediately arrived to assist. I witnessed the professionalism and dedication of our home front command. And they were truly a shining light in the midst of such a terrible, terrible tragedy. Helping others is simply part of our ethos. And you know, when there is a disaster, Israelis are there first. When there is a humanitarian crisis, Israelis are there first. This is the Israeli way. We see it as our duty to save lives wherever we can. Showcasing the support that Israel gives to countries all around the world compels these same countries to support Israel in return, or at the very least, makes it harder for them to vote against us. So this is my third tactic at the UN, and it truly has a profound impact. And I'll give you 2 examples. Over Hanukkah, I invited 9 Israeli innovators to present their companies to dozens of UN ambassadors. These ambassadors witnessed the ingenuity of Israeli innovation firsthand. I also recently organized a moving event in partnership with an Israeli NGO called Innovation Africa, and we invited 25 African ambassadors to witness, listen to this, how this awe-inspiring NGO has connected hundreds and soon to be thousands of African villages to running water and renewable energy. And I can tell you that when they presented their work to the room, the ambassadors were so moved by what Israelis were doing for their people and truly saving lives that tears ran down their cheeks. So whether by providing water and energy solutions or delivering disaster and medical relief, Israel rushes to help those in need because we truly believe that every human is created in God's image. And by saving even one life, we save a whole world. And friends, the results of this tactic speak for themselves. In fact, just last week, the Palestinians, along with South Africa and Algeria, attempted to revoke Israel's observer status in the African Union. But after the African ambassadors saw Israel's tremendous contributions to their countries, they couldn't vote against us. So in a huge victory for Israel, this attempt to harm us failed. This is a direct result of our work showcasing Israel's capabilities and contributions, and this is only the beginning. So although Israel still has a long road ahead at the UN, these three tactics, strengthening bilateral relations, going on the offensive, and showcasing Israel contributions are truly making an impact. Throughout the past year, I had the honor to not only serve as Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, but also as the ambassador to the United States. As ambassador to the United States, I further understood the great importance of the deep bond between our countries. It is a bond that is built upon a powerful base of shared values. I made it my mission to preserve and even strengthen this bond on both sides of the aisle, regardless of who was sitting in the Oval Office. Even if we do not always agree on everything, my mission was always to find what we have in common and to utilize that to build bridges between our nations. I merited to be able to stand on the south lawn of the White House while the historic Abraham Accords were signed. And from then on, I have worked closely with both administrations and the ambassadors of our new partners to strengthen and even expand this vibrant new circle of peace, which is truly transforming our region. And between you and me, don't tell anyone, I believe that this circle of peace will get even bigger in the coming months. But don't tell anyone. So friends, we are all part of the same mission. While I dedicate myself to strengthening Israel on the world stage, you all dedicate yourself to strengthening Israel from within. WIZO is an organization founded by women, run by women, and dedicated to empowering women. You all serve as the mothers of Israeli society, and your love for the state of Israel is truly uplifting. As a husband and a father, your work inspires me, just as it inspires thousands of young women to lead, innovate, and contribute. We are living, as I started my speech, in trying times. But as I fight for Israel and the Jewish people, I know that I am not fighting alone. Together, we fight for a just and beautiful cause. And for your unparalleled support, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, WIZO.
I have the honor of presenting an award to our honorable Simon. לא יפה. Honorable Ambassador Gilad Erdan. He's been in WIZO many times. We invited him when we had the little trips to Israel. He was always amazing, charming. His wife is beautiful. And I said to the ambassador, the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, said that the darkest place is the United Nations. It's one of the darkest places in the world. And your job is to bring light to this dark place. You are. You are working very hard. It's not easy. And we appreciate so much everything you do. We read about you, we follow you, we're honored. And I want to present you with the best award we have, the Charlotte and Sami Rohr Shomrei Israel Award. For those of you that don't speak Hebrew, which you all do, I know, but I'm being redundant. Shomrei Israel is the people that guard Israel, the guardians of Israel. And here we have a guardian of Israel in a dark place like the United Nations. Ambassador, we're giving you our award with love. Put it in a really pretty place in your house, and I'll come check if you have it there.
In my office.
In your office,
At the
okay.
UN. You can come here.
Toda Rabba, and I feel like saying Hazak Ve'emat. Toda. You know,
That was amazing. Honestly, we are so fortunate to have Ambassador Erdan representing us, fighting for Israel, but also building so many bridges. And I know many of you are waiting for the raffle results, so we're still not over. We're going to be doing the raffle right now with Suzanne. She's bringing everything here. Okay. This is the fun part. She's making sure that we have all the raffle tickets in there. So many amazing prices.
Go that way, I'll go. No, you're. I hope you all had a wonderful evening tonight. We're very, very excited. So now we're going to thank you all for buying raffle tickets. So our first gift is a signed seriograph by Linda Litkin, donated anonymously. So Jeanette is going to pull the ticket. And the winner is Judith Groisman. We have a beautiful basket from designer Christian LaCroix, donated by Duty Free America, Simon and Hannah Falek. Thank you so much. Orit Schloss. Is Orit here tonight? Orit. Now we have a beautiful 14-karat gold heart necklace donated by Alev Jewelers. Hani Lipskar. Hani. We have a gorgeous 14-karat gold necklace with semi-precious stones donated by Saret Jewels. It's really beautiful. Who is? Sarita Leap. Is she here tonight? Sarita Leap. She's here. Now, for the big one, we have, well, two coach round-trip tickets to Israel on American Airlines, donated by Mindy and Isaac Hardoon, Jerry Allen Travel. We're just thrilled. Thank you so much. Masha Mayer. Masha Meyer, but I understand she's not here, so we will call her and tell her that she has won the 2 tickets to Israel. So as we say goodnight, I just want to thank Jeanette, who's been with us all evening, and she's absolutely amazing. So we want to present her with this, recognizing Jeanette as the Master of Ceremonies with deep gratitude and admiration for your friendship to WIZO and devotion to the people of Israel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to dedicate this to my grandmothers who have been WIZO volunteers in Chile. One already passed away, and to my mom, who also is a WIZO volunteer. So WIZO is all around the world. And I want to thank WIZO for the opportunity to be with you tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the children, the women, the youth of Israel. And I would like also to invite those who want to be in a group picture to come to the stage. Thank you so much, and a big applause to everybody who made this night possible. Have an amazing night.